Hi folks, so this week we finished off our little box modeled car with some UV unwrapping and texture painting. So let's get into that. This is the car from the previous work where we'd added all the little bits of detail in that we wanted. Um, so the first thing we need to do for this car is to set up a UV map, which is going to allow a texture file, just a picture, to be used to essentially change the colors across this model. So we're going to go to the UV editing panel here. And the first thing we need to do is have an image attached to this model with the material. So I'm going to go to the material properties panel here, the red one down the side here. We've already got a material. So I'm just going to double click on that and call it car. And then I'm going to go to here where it says base color, and I'm going to click the little dot here, and I'm going to change it from just a single color to an image texture. And then you see these new buttons have appeared here, new and open. So I'm going to hit new because we want a new texture. I'm going to again call it car, and I'm going to leave the other settings the same and say OK. So now car has opened, the new image has opened up over here. I'm going to zoom back a bit, just roll the scroll wheel so that I can see the whole file. And there it is. This is our new image, and it's all black. So we can't see anything over here at the moment because this is in solid mode. So we're going to just switch it over to the next option along, which is material preview mode. And you can see that the car is now all black. Well, it's easier to see here on the mirrored side, but essentially because this is all black, everything is black on the car as well. So let's hit A on this side in edit mode, and we select all of the faces on this car. And you can see now where they are mapped from. So this is not a good UV map. The wheels are getting most of the space. Some stuff is overlapping on top of each other now, which means, they're not all, it's not neatly laid out. So we can ask Blender to give us a new UV map where everything is nicely separated. So we're going to go to UV. We're going to go to Smart UV Project. And the other thing I'm going to do additionally is I'm going to change island margin. I'm just going to press the arrow on this end just to change it to 0.01 and hit OK. And that just means it's going to put a little gap between each of the islands, because when you're using the fill tool, like we're going to do, that helps because sometimes you get a little bit of bleeding from one to the other if they're actually touching. So this just makes a little gap all around. So now we've got a nice, neat UV map so that anything painted into this part of the image is going to go on the side of the car. Anything painted on this part of the image is going to go on the underside of the car. This is the bonnet here. This is the roof. Okay, so there's bits and pieces all around that are kind of recognizable. The wheels are here. The front and back of the wheels are all there. So now we've got a UV map, so we can actually get to painting. So we're going to switch again panels. We'll switch over here now to the texture paint panel instead. Again, you can see the texture on this side, and you can see the model on this side, and it's now in the texture paint mode. And in texture painting, you can use paint tools just to draw. Because our car is mirrored, anything that goes on one side is going to go on the other. But you can see there that I've painted onto the car directly, and then it's appeared also here on this side. Similarly, if I was to paint over here, it would also, it would appear on the car too. So you can paint either side of this. And obviously you could try manually painting things in here, but it's kind of hard to be precise. You can see I was trying to paint the bottom of the car, but then I ended up going over the lines a bit. So it's possible to paint manually, but it's much easier to use the fill tool. But the fill tool by default will automatically fill across everything. But let's do that first of all for our sort of main color of the car. So I'm going to go select fill here, and this I'm going to change the color by clicking up here. And I'm going to again, just for my car, I'm going to choose a kind of a blue, and I'm going to just darken it up significantly. I'm going to make it fairly dark. And I'm just going to click on the car, and now I've got this nice dark blue car. You can pick whatever color you want, but that's the color I'm going to choose. So that's great, but it's kind of filled everything. Now if I wanted to do what if I just wanted to paint a bit of the car with the fill tool? Well, you can definitely do that too. There's a button here, it's called Paint Mask, which doesn't immediately kind of tell you what it does. It's not very obvious. But really what it means is that if that's switched on, click on it now to switch it on, it means that the only things that will get painted are things that are selected in edit mode. So let's switch over here to edit mode and let's look. Currently all the faces are selected. So let's just click away and so now nothing is selected. So let's start selecting a couple of faces we'd like to paint all the same color. So I'd like to paint all the windows. So I'm going to click on that in face select mode here. I'm going to click on that face on the windscreen and then holding the shift key down, I'm going to click on all of these other faces that represent windows, just like that. And then I'm going to return back to texture paint mode. And now because this is on, only the ones that we've selected, they kind of show up in their normal color. Everything else just looks like kind of this grayed out color to show that it's not currently editable, that we can't kind of do anything to it. So let's click over here and let's bring the brightness up and let's bring the color to almost a white, but just like push it just a little bit towards blue. That's going to look good. All right, just a little bit above the center there. And let's hit fill. And now we've got this kind of bright bluish color on the windscreen and windows of the car. And you can see over here on this texture, you can see where that has gone. So that's cool. So now let's keep repeating this for a bunch of other things we want to paint. Let's go back to edit mode. And now let's pick a few of the lights that we want to paint. So I'm going to paint this one and shift click again, and those two, which are going to together going to be the headlight. And at the back of the car, I'm going to pick that one as well. Those are going to be, I want those to be white. So again, back to texture paint mode. Again, select a white here. I'm just going to move that a little bit closer to the center, close enough to white. And again, just click to fill. And that one, and there at the back, those are now white. Back to edit mode again. I'm now going to pick this one here, that face there. And around the back, I'm going to pick shift click that one there. So I want those two to be indicators. So I'm going to make them a kind of an orange color. So again, back to texture paint, change the color here to like an orange and click. I'm clicking on the face, but actually it doesn't matter where you click. If I just change that to purple for a second, if I can click out here, I can click anywhere. It'll still work. It's just habit makes me kind of click on the area, but that's not how the fill works. Just click anywhere and it'll fill it. There we go. So that's kind of an orange now. And then back to edit pane, edit mode. I'm just going to click and select this one. I want it to be red. Texture paint, change the color to a red and click there. So now we've got a nice kind of red, orange, white at the back and a white and orange at the front in terms of lights. Then I think we'll do a quick paint job on the wheels. So let's go to edit mode again. And I want to select all of the wheels first of all. And we'll just, most of the wheel is tire. Most of the faces are in the tire here. So I'm just going to select the whole thing and make it all black. And then I'm going to just separately pick out these bits and make them kind of a different color, a lighter color. So pick any face at all, doesn't matter, and shift click and pick any face on the two wheels, as long as you have one face on the two of them. And then hold down the control key and press L for linked, and it should select all linked faces. So now we've got the two wheels selected. We can go back to texture paint mode, change to a black by bringing the brightness slider all the way to the bottom and click. So those are now filled in with black, and maybe not completely black actually, we want it to be kind of more charcoaly. That doesn't make a huge difference, but anyway, you can play around until you, yeah, maybe not like a hard black, just slightly charcoaly, dark gray, but not absolutely black. Maybe that's a bit more natural. And then back to edit mode. And now we just, again, click away just to unselect. Now we just want to select this ring of vertices here and this ring of vertices here, and the same on the back of the wheels. So if you remember holding down the Alt key, Alt while you click on a face should select the whole loop if there is one. Now the only thing is to make sure you click nearer to one of these edges rather than one of these edges, that way. If you hold down Alt and click near that edge, it'll run a loop in that direction. But if you're near to one of these long edges, it'll go that one, which is what you want. So I'll do that one first, and then Shift and Alt, and then do the same at the back. And then I'm going to turn the car so I can see the back of the wheel, and again Shift and Alt, and again Shift and Alt. So I've got those four selected. And then back to texture paint, and pick another color. I'm just going to stick with gray, but I'm going to brighten it up again and just fill. Let's just stop in that object mode for a minute just to get a look at it all, see how it's looking. Pretty good. I'm going to stick with that, go back to edit mode again. I'm going to use that same gray, but I'm going to use it for the, just going to select those for the kind of grill at the front of the car, and these two at the back. And I'm going to go back to, oh sorry, I unselected them by accident. Control Z if you have unselected by accident. It should bring your selection back, which it did for me. Go back to texture paint mode. That same gray is fine. I'm just going to fill that in for those as well. And again, just pop to object mode and have a look. Yeah, that looks fine. And then the last thing I want to paint is the bumpers. I want to put the bumpers a different color. So I'm going to go to the edit mode again, and I'm going to select 1 and Shift 2 and 3 on the bumper on the front, and 1, 2, and 3 on the bumper on the back. But I would like it as well to select these little ones, and the little ones underneath, and that little one there. And again at the front, I'd like to get that little one and those little ones and the little ones underneath. I'd like to get all those too. Now I can click them all individually holding down Shift and try and pick them out, but I can also do a quick thing that just expands the selection automatically. So if I go to select here and go select more or less and say more, it'll automatically select one more face around the current selection. And that's perfect for what for here. It's going to select the bumper exactly, front and back. So that's exactly what we want. So back to texture paint mode. And again, I want it gray, but again, this time I want it darker. So I'm going to go to a darker gray and just click, and I have a dark gray bumpers. So that's it. So let's go to object mode and have a look at our car. And it looks good. Okay, so that's our car painted. So I'm going to return to layout mode. And again, I'm going to switch here to rendered mode this time. I'm going to switch to rendered mode, the last of the buttons along there, so we can see what the kind of final product looks like. Just because the last time I was doing this video, the Blender decided to crash on me, I'm now going to do a save. Just in case. So we're going to do a little render of the car. So I was suggesting that we would use there's two renders in Blender. One is called Eevee and the other is called Cycles. This one is currently Eevee, and Eevee's nice. It's more like a game render, but it's fast. But if you want even better looking results, Cycles, which is slower but gives you a better looking render, is the choice. So to switch renderers, you click on Render Properties here, and then change the drop down from Eevee to Cycles. And then this is where it crashed for me the last time, so hopefully it won't. If it's supported on your computer and GPU compute is enabled, you can click on that and it will make faster renders. It won't look any different, but the renders will go faster. So if your computer can handle it, it's a good thing to do. So now you can see, because Eevee's a little slower, you'll see as you scroll and things, you'll see it takes a little bit to catch up. But it does pick out these little fine details much better, like the little shadows and stuff in those corners. It just picks those little details out much better than Eevee can. So now we've got our car, and we can let's set it up for a bit of a final render. So I'm just going to go to a side view here. I'm going to select our car, and I'm going to hit GZ, and I'm just going to move it till the wheels are just on that green line there, just basically on the ground. And now I'm going to add a plane. there, and I'm going to tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to S to scale, and I'm going to make that just a good bit bigger than the car, something like that. And now I'm just going to go edge select mode, and I'm going to select that back edge and shift and select that back edge. So I have this edge and this edge selected, and then I'm going to go EZ just to extrude up a couple of back walls like that. This is going to make a kind of studio. So let's do a couple of materials on that, on those walls. So let's go down to the materials property panel here, and I'm going to make plus. I'm going to make one new material here. I'm going to double click and call it. Sorry, that's not the way to do it. Forget I did that. I'm going to do new. That's what I want to do. That new button there, and it's called material. I'm just going to double click on that and call it walls. And all I want is white walls. That's fine. So let's leave that alone. And then I'm going to hit plus again to make a new slot, and again hit new here. Double click on that and call it ground. Ground. And I'm going to make ground just a dark color. I'm just going to bring that down to there, dark. Now, everything is currently assigned to walls. Nothing's assigned to ground. So in face select mode here, just pick that bottom face, select the ground material here, and then hit assign. And now if I go back to object mode, it should be clear that those two have the walls material on them, but this one has the ground material on it. All right, so that's given our little kind of rough studio setup. You can switch back to material preview for the time being if you want to, if you find it slow on your machine. I'm going to stick with cycle with rendered, but if you're finding it very slow, switch back to material preview for a bit while you do a little bit of kind of basic editing. So the only light in our scene currently is this one, and it's here, and it's just this little spotlight, little point light. So we'd like to get some nicer lights in our scene. So I'm just going to make sure that one's selected, and then hit X and delete it. Now everything goes kind of dark in our scene because we have no lights except this what they call ambient light from the just that kind of gray sky effectively. It's just producing very low amount of light. So let's add some lights into our scene. So we're going to go add light. And what we found the last day was good were area lights. So I'm going to add an area light. Now that area light currently is sitting down here at 0. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to just change the radius here of this light. I can do it in two places. I could do it here where I did add light, or I could do it over here. Let's wait till I move it first, actually. I'm just going to hit G and Z, and I'm going to just bring that light up so it's above the car. It doesn't matter how far up, really, just a bit above the car. And then I'm going to get this size, and I'm going to make it considerably larger, somewhat larger than the car itself. Exact size doesn't matter too much. And then power, I'm going to take it from 10 watts to something like 1,000 watts. And now we've got a bit of light shining right down on the car. So that's not terrible, but we could make it more interesting. So again, I think it'd be more interesting if that wasn't coming straight down from on top. So we can snap into a side view here, X, and we can hit OR, and we can just rotate that light a bit. And maybe G, just move it again a bit. So that's kind of coming down at a bit of an angle. That's just going to look more interesting. And then maybe just take that light and we'll just make a duplicate of it. So we'll just hit Shift D for duplicate, and we'll just move that copy away. Again, I'm going to go to a side view, and I'm going to go OR. I'm just going to rotate that light so it's pointed back towards the car in the opposite direction. But maybe just go to this side, maybe just G there, and maybe just OR again, just rotate it. There's no right answers here with the lights, so just have it coming across like that. So it's gonna, and maybe let's take this light and just maybe bring it a little bit pink, maybe, just for some contrast. And select the other light and maybe just make that one a little bit blue, maybe. So we get some kind of interesting. There's no right answers when it comes to lights or anything else, you know. Notice you can't see the lights themselves. You can only see the effect of where they've hit things in the scene. It's not like you can actually see a lamp here. You only see you only see you only see the, what do you call it? I don't know if that, I can't remember what that does. No, doesn't matter. You can only see the effect of the light. You can't actually see the light itself. You'd have to put an object in there for the light if that's what you wanted. So now the last thing we want to do is position our, oh gosh, what have I done? Have I done something weird? Go back to here. Yeah, I don't know. I did. That's probably because I hit that portal button, but don't worry about it. You don't do that. I don't think it shouldn't have misbehaved anyway. So then just change your view to something like kind of this, where you're looking across the car. Just come back out from the car a bit, but just look across the car a bit like that. And then select the camera here in the hierarchy and go to View, Align View, and Align Active Camera to View. And then you should see this is going to be the shot that's going to render out what's in that orange square. You can zoom it in a bit if you want to see more exactly what it is. So this is going to be our shot. So if you want to move the camera a bit more now, and kind of line it up a bit better, what you also can do is if you either hit that little box there, which I find hard to hit, or hit the N key to pop out that sidebar and go to view mode, then just hit uh, oh, lock camera to view, this one here. So now if you change the view over here by just the normal way, like rolling the scroll wheel or holding down the middle mouse button and tilting, what's happening is that the camera is actually moving with you. Um, so that then you're just kind of moving as normal. So then pick a view that you like on the car that you kind of think is a good view. And kind of once you're happy that you've lined it up in a way that's pleasing to you, and you want to do a render, just go to render and hit render image or hit the F12 button. And because I'm not got because Blender is not because I'm not currently sharing my whole screen in OBS, you actually can't see the render image, but it's now generating. But it looks, it's like a slightly nicer version of what you can already see on the screen here. And but that's what you do, is hit F12 or go to render image. And then you've got your nice rendered model of your car. So I encourage you to play with the lights and materials on things as well, to see the car currently, let's say, has got kind of a low metallic value. So what happens if you kind of play with that? What happens if you play with roughness? What sort of impact does that have on the appearance of the car? You can make it look very kind of hard plastic and shiny, very kind of metal. There's somewhere in the extreme values here is going to look a bit weird, but you can play with that. You can play with the lights. You can add more lights, and try and see what sort of nice effects you can get. There's really, just your own sense of taste is the limit here. So that's it. Thanks, folks. That's all for this week. I hope you had fun doing that, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.